remember the thrill of riding your banana seat bike with no helmet, the buzz of vinyl record shops, or even thumbing a ride down the highway. The 1970s were filled with freedoms and fashions that defined a generation. But many of these moments are gone forever. At the same time, it was a decade of deep contrast with Native American communities facing heartbreaking challenges that history often forgets. Before we begin, hit like and subscribe. Picture a family gathering in the 1970s birthday cake, glowing under dim kitchen lights, kids laughing as balloons bob along the ceiling, and in the corner someone carefully holding a Super 8 camera. The soft whir of the film spinning was the soundtrack of countless living rooms. Unlike the bulky reels of the past, Kodak's Super 8 made it possible for everyday parents to capture real life, not just staged portraits. You could almost smell the faint warmth of the projector bulb as those films later flickered onto a pull-down screen. For many, the Super 8 was more than a gadget. It was a memory machine. Every vacation, every school play, every backyard baseball game could now be preserved. But by the late 1970s, VHS and Betamax camcorders arrived, stealing the spotlight with easier recording and playback. The Super 8 slowly slipped back into closets, reels collecting dust. What lingers most is the ritual. The family gathered around in silence, except for the clicking of the projector and the occasional laughter when someone tripped across the screen. Those reels weren't just movies. They were the heartbeats of the decade. Step onto a basketball court in the 1970s and the first thing you'd notice wasn't the slam dunks, it was the shorts. Cut high snug against the thighs, showing off tanned and often hairy legs, these short shorts became the decade's athletic uniform. Paired with tube socks that climbed halfway up the calves, capped by bold-colored stripes, the look was as loud as the squeak of sneakers on polished wood floors. Athletes like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Bjorn Borg carried the style into the mainstream, and soon you'd see it everywhere, from roller rinks to neighborhood parks. They were playful, daring, and a little rebellious, especially compared to the longer, baggier styles that would dominate later decades. But as the 80s rolled in, tastes changed. Shorts lengthened, socks shrank, and the once iconic combination faded into retro photographs and fashion jokes. Still, anyone who lived it remembers how it felt: free, bold, and unapologetically fun. If you're enjoying this trip, hit like and subscribe for more. Imagine turning on the television in the 1970s and seeing Farrah Fawcett's radiant smile framed by that unmistakable cascade of feathered hair. It wasn't just a hairstyle, it was a cultural wave. Soft layers blown back from the face created a breezy, sun-kissed look that felt carefree yet glamorous. Teenagers rushed to the mirror with round brushes and blow dryers, trying to capture the same effortless magic, and for a moment, every hallway in America seemed like a runway. What made feathered hair unforgettable was its reach. It crossed genders. Men and women alike embraced the style, pairing it with bell-bottom jeans, disco shirts, and the energy of the era. Yet by the late 1980s, heavier hairsprays and sharper cuts took over, and the feathered look fluttered away. Still, flip through a yearbook from that decade and it's like a time capsule of smiles framed by wind-swept waves. It wasn't just hair, it was confidence, rebellion, and the sparkle of youth. Now, looking back on the Super 8 reels, the short shorts on the courts, and Farrah's iconic hair, what do you think best defines the spirit of the 1970s? The way we dressed, the way we looked, or the way we remembered ourselves? Open a fridge in the 1970s and you might spot a slim pink can with bold block letters, Tab. It was Coca-Cola's daring leap into the world of diet soda, promising sweetness without the guilt. For many, cracking open a Tab was as much about identity as it was about refreshment, something chic, modern, even a little rebellious. The first sip carried a sharp fizz, followed by that unmistakable aftertaste of saccharin, a flavor some swore by and others couldn't stand. Tab became a cultural staple, sipped at office desks, slipped into lunch bags, and clutched at backyard barbecues. But health concerns around its artificial sweetener began to cast shadows. By the early 1980s, Diet Coke stormed in fresh and polished, and Tab quietly lost its crown. Still, for those who remember that pink can was more than soda, it was the taste of ambition, of people chasing modern lifestyles and new choices. Even today, spotting one of those cans in an old photo feels like stepping right back into a sunlit kitchen of the 70s. Close your eyes and picture a suburban street on a warm afternoon in the 1970s. Kids are racing past their bikes, gleaming with tall chopper-style handlebars and those long curved banana seats that seemed to stretch on forever. Perched on top, you felt like you owned the road, half Evel Knievel, half Easy Rider. The vinyl seat was wide enough for a friend to hop on, and together you'd pedal to the corner store or down the hill with the wind in your face. These bikes weren't just transportation, they were freedom. Every scratch on the chrome, every skid mark on the driveway told a story of childhood adventures. But as the decade turned, BMX and freestyle bikes took over, designed for tricks and competition. The old banana seat slowly disappeared from driveways replaced by leaner, sportier frames. Still, those who had one will never forget the feeling of cruising the block legs, pumping hair, flying with the whole world stretched out before them. The banana seat bike wasn't just a ride, it was childhood on two wheels. Step into a schoolyard in the 1970s and you'd see kids huddled in tight circles, trading not baseball cards but wacky packages. These quirky little stickers spoofed everyday brands, turning cereal boxes, soda bottles, and cleaning products into hilarious parodies. With goofy names and outrageous artwork, they gave kids the thrill of holding something a little rebellious, a little silly, and totally their own. You could hear the laughter ripple across the playground as someone pulled out a new pack, peeling and sticking them onto notebooks, lunch boxes, or even bedroom walls. They weren't just cards. They were badges of humor, creativity, and childhood mischief. But like many fads, Wacky Packs lost steam as garbage pail kids crashed onto the scene in the 1980s, pushing the envelope even further. Still, for those who grew up with them, the joy of swapping a duplicate or finding that one card you'd been chasing all week is a memory that still sparks a smile. Looking back now, from the pink fizz of Tab Soda to the freedom of banana seat bikes and the playful charm of Wacky Packs, what do you think captures the heart of being a kid in the 1970s? The taste, the ride, or the laughter? If you're enjoying this trip, hit like and subscribe for more. It's Saturday morning in the 1970s. Sunlight barely slips through the curtains, but you're already up, racing to the living room in pajamas, a towering bowl of sugary cereal in your hands. The television hums to life, and suddenly, Scooby-Doo, the Jetsons, or the Flintstones fill the screen. Those bright colors and catchy theme songs weren't just entertainment, they were rituals shared across millions of households at the exact same time. What made it magical was the sense of freedom. No school, no chores, yet just hours of laughter, adventure, and imagination. Parents knew exactly where the kids were glued to the set, giggling between mouthfuls of cereal. It was a weekly tradition as sacred as Sunday dinner. By the late 1980s, the magic dimmed. Networks shifted to educational shows, cable, television spread, and Saturday mornings slowly lost their throne. But anyone who lived it remembers the joy of waking up early, not because you had to, but because you couldn't wait to. Walk into a friend's living room in the late 1970s, and there it was, beneath the television, the sleek wood-paneled Atari console. Just seeing those chunky joysticks with a single red button sent a thrill through your fingertips. For the first time, video games weren't confined to noisy arcades or pocketfuls of quarters. They had marched right into the heart of the American home. Games like Pong Asteroids and Space Invaders transformed ordinary evenings into competitions that stretched long past bedtime. The screen might flicker and the graphics were simple blocks, but the excitement was real. Friends crowded around, cheering, laughing, and sometimes squabbling over whose turn it was next. As the 1980s unfolded, new consoles with sharper graphics overtook Atari, but nothing could erase the wonder of those first nights spent discovering digital worlds. To many, Atari wasn't just a game system, it was a gateway to the future, a hint of how technology would forever change playtime. Picture the glow of neon lights reflecting off polished floors, disco beats pulsing through giant speakers, and the smell of buttered popcorn drifting from the snack bar. In the 1970s, the roller skating rink was the place to be. Teenagers laced up their skates, adjusted the laces tight, and rolled out onto the rink, hearts pounding as much from nerves as from the music. It was more than skating, it was a social stage. You'd hold hands under the strobe lights, practice daring spins in the corners, or just glide in rhythm with Donna Summer and the Bee Gees playing overhead. The rink was where friendships blossomed, crushes formed, and every weekend felt like a miniature disco party. But as malls and video arcades grew in the 1980s, roller rinks started to fade, leaving behind only the echoes of laughter and the thump of four wheels on wood. Looking back on Saturday morning cartoons, the Atari console, and those dazzling roller rinks, what do you think gave kids the greatest escape? The stories on television, the games at home, or the freedom of the rink floor? You're cruising down the highway with your family in the 1970s, luggage piled high in the back of the station wagon. Suddenly, that familiar orange roof appears on the horizon. Howard Johnson's. It was more than a pit stop, it was a promise. Inside, the smell of fried clams filled the air, and kids pressed their noses to the freezer case, deciding which of the famous 28 flavors of ice cream to choose. For families, Howard Johnson's meant consistency. Whether in Ohio, Florida, or along a New England highway, the menu felt the same, a comforting reassurance on long road trips. Parents got a hot meal, kids got their sweet reward, and everyone left with bellies full and spirits lifted. But the rise of fast food chains, changing travel habits, and tighter budgets slowly pushed Hojos into decline. By the 2000s, those orange roofs had nearly all disappeared. Still in memory, Howard Johnson stands tall, a roadside beacon of family flavor and freedom on the open road. Your comments keep these memories alive. Drop yours below, and don't forget to subscribe for more nostalgia and retro stories. Bạn có muốn tôi viết thêm outro để kết nối toàn bộ 11 này thành một hành trình trọn vẹn không? Looking back, the 1970s were a paradox, an age of carefree childhoods, disco nights, and bold fashions, yet also a decade marked by struggles and painful truths. So many of the things we took for granted, banana seat bikes, record store hangouts, hitchhiking, are now frozen in memory. They remind us of who we were and how far we've come. Which memory stands out most to you? Share it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more journeys into nostalgia.